cheers and welcome to the Scrum of the Earth podcast, your go-to for news, reviews, great interviews, and so much more all about the world of rugby. As always, my name is David Lawrence. I'm an American rugby fan who follows the game wherever I can find it all over the globe. If you'd like to get in touch, I'm easy to find on all your socials, and you can always drop an email to the scrumoftheearth at gmail.com. Well, as you've no doubt deduced, this is yet another bonus episode. In case you're new or out of the loop, we've done away with the weekly sort of wrap-up episodes. We've gone to an interview-only format, though we do aim to keep things timely. In that vein, we've got a bit of an instant reaction episode just after the conclusion of Scotland versus Argentina in the Quilters Nations series. I am beyond excited to welcome back one of the loveliest men I've ever known. His wisdom is dad-like, his rugby insights are proppish, and I'll be damned if he's not just one of the all-time good guys on earth. It's the Craig man, Craig Manson. Craig, my dear friend, it does my little heart good to see your face. It's honestly been too long. Thank you for carving out some time, especially today. And how the heck are you doing, my friend?
Yeah, it's great to be on, David. Thanks very much for inviting me back. And it's yeah, well, about to find out how I am very, very quickly. After within the next probably 5 minutes of your questions and some of my answers. But yeah,
I,
doing
I had I
okay.
had
But
planned to keep on the Scotland jersey I was wearing during the game, but it kind of felt like a hair shirt by then. I was like, okay, this thing's coming off. That's enough mortification of the flesh for one day.
Yeah, definitely. I'm feeling like Leonard in Big Bang Theory when he has his red jumper on of a red jumper of shame and it's all scratchy. I'm feeling that way too, mate. I'm feeling that way too.
Well, in honor of how much the word bloody is probably being passed around where you are right now, I've made myself a preposterously oversized Bloody Mary to celebrate the occasion, and perhaps it is time for heads to roll once again.
Well, yeah, I would have joined you, but unfortunately, I'm used to a Canadian Caesar more than a Bloody Mary, and they are the most awful things I've ever had in my entire life.
What is
Um,
that?
a Caesar is a Bloody Mary, but it's exactly the same, but it's made with clamato juice,
Oh yeah,
which is tomato or tomato, if we're going to use your vernacular, from the colonies. And I
we
would
use
say,
both.
yeah, with clam juice in it. Now, whomever decided, you know what that tomato juice needs? Some clam juice. What?
I'm told it just makes it saltier. I know people who make their Bloody Marys with that stuff. I can't even look at it on the shelf.
Well, my most favorite, one of my most favorite people on the earth, my cousin Brian. We were over a couple of years ago, and we were down in Kingston Kingston in Canada, and we're walking down the street. He says, "You want to come in here? This is a chain of bars called Little Caesars." So in we go, and oh, you get like bits of steak and prawns, etc., on the side of this drink. And well, drink and food going together, as you probably have realised, me being a prop. Of
It's a good
course, that
combination.
sounds fabulous. And if you can put some alcohol in there, wonderful. So that's what happened. This thing came. Now, I enjoyed the bits on the side or the bits hanging off the top of it, which I have seen you have adorned your
Yes,
Bloody Mary
we've
with.
got we've got garlic stuffed olives, bacon, and celery.
Oh, I mean, you see, now that's lovely. Sounds lovely. And then this stuff touched my lips, and I've never just put a drink down as quickly as I've ever done that. It was just like, no, 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 thank you.
When the Simpsons go to New York and Homer's trying to get something to drink, and the guy says, "We've got Mountain Dew and crab juice," and he's like,
Yeah.
"Ah, I'll take a crab juice."
And that's exactly what it is, man. I just had that on. So, yeah. Anyway.
Well, I schemed it up in my head for us to do three little segments today, and each segment will be named for an episode of season one of The West Wing, a show you and I both love.
Absolutely.
Starting us off, we're going with episode eight, Enemies. This is for Scotland's three November tests, two of which are already in the books, of course. A strange number, three. I'm surprised they didn't go for four, but there we are.
Yeah, we'll not talk about the imaginary fourth autumn test where there was an imaginary whooping of the USA.
Doesn't ring a bell. Doesn't ring a bell.
No, no, no. You've totally forgotten about that. Selective memory. Nice.
I mean, to be fair, if I'd known we were going to be talking about the USA match, this segment would have been called "Take Out the Trash Day." That game was more of a quiz than a test, I think. You all talked about it on the Scottish Rugby podcast. I'm with you. It was almost a waste of time. Like nobody really learned anything. It was like varsity versus junior varsity training session.
Yeah, yeah. It was a difficult one to watch because what you want is especially with a team that's got with a team that's got so much promise, and they've also got people in charge who have high and lofty goals, and you want them to succeed because having your own home World Cup is a wonderful thing, and you want to take your own team to that World Cup. First of all, you want to qualify for it, and second of all, you want to get somewhere in it and not be like England, who had their World Cup and got put out in the pool stages. Sorry, I
Those were the
just had to
days.
mention that. I've got to cheer myself up somehow after the
Exactly.
rest of our conversation. But so yeah, for us, it's it just didn't seem right, and I think the whole USA team seemed to be off color. They were just at sea really, and we were in a situation where they came up against a strong Scotland side, even when we didn't have all of our our big players that were playing in England or in France. But as we can probably talk about further down, in this podcast, that doesn't seem to make a difference anyway. They seem to not be making a difference with Scotland at this moment in time. So yeah, it was an okay game, and
If people were calling the Scottish side a B side, I don't think that's really fair, but it definitely wasn't an A plus side.
yeah. I think it's the if
No
you had
fin, and
Finn.
you instantly go down a notch. So
Yeah, and we'll maybe talk about that further down the line as well, because having no Finn, my concern really is now, what if where are we without him?
right.
Because a lot of the work that we are doing and a lot of the attack options that we are doing are, well, 99% of the time it's going through him, and it's his um, rugby brain that's moving it forward. And if we don't have him, which we may not have next game because we may have a change, you just don't know.
Well, the match we had just now ended about just about an hour ago. It was fun to watch for like 75 minutes. So stop me if you've heard this one before. The word collapse came up a bunch towards the end. I'm still pretty stunned. Like, what was your immediate takeaway?
Anger is my go-to position at this moment in time. I'm incredibly angry about it. I think we are in a situation where if you look, it's something's going on. There's two things going on, and in my well, first things first. Scotland were way ahead, 21-0 up, by just into the second half, and then Argentina brought on some heavy artillery off the bench, and turned their game around and won 33-21. I think it's 33-21. Scotland
Yeah, they got
collapsed
an
as you've
insult to injury try there at the end.
yeah. Scotland really collapsed under the weight of Argentina's pressure. They have done exactly what Scotland and also Edinburgh do, and Glasgow do very irregularly, but Glasgow can do it as well, and that is when the pressure comes on, they can collapse and collapse properly. They go missing for a period of time. Every game that Scotland plays, they go missing for a period of time, whether it's 10 minutes, 20 minutes, or 30 minutes. This time they went missing for probably 30 minutes in the second half. Their indiscipline came in again. And then we talk about a coach who's misusing his players. And there's a lot of discussion. Okay, I'm sorry, I'm going on, David, and
Not at all.
we'll maybe talk further down the line. But there's a lot of talk at the moment of Fabien Galtier being. Everyone says that he's a wonderful coach and fantastic coach, but they've got a golden generation of French players at the moment, and he's done not very much with them. He's won a Grand Slam and he's won a Six Nations title, and that's it. Scotland we are being told that Scotland have a golden generation and are going through an absolutely wonderful patch of fantastic rugby with some amazing players, which they do have. And Townsend has won nothing with them, and we have to look at that, and we really have to pull that apart, because I think that is the biggest question mark at the moment, after this. And as I say, I've not had a lot of time to think about this, but it's
Mm.
just that my initial gut reaction right at this moment in time is this guy's done. We've had enough of this, and we need to move.
I'm gonna get to it more later, but I did like when Argentina scored to come with, I think, within five. I was looking around the field saying, okay, where is the leader who's saying, okay, everybody, where's the huddle? Where's the, okay, everybody calm down, settle down. This is how we're going to win this. I didn't see that. I feel like I see that in other teams. Is Sione not that kind of leader? Is Finn was still on the field? Is that what we need from him? Like, is there a leadership issue when it comes late?
I think there's a mixture of two things. I think Sione is the right guy. I think Sione plays it with his heart in his sleeve, and everybody loves him. And I will not take anything away from him. He was a little missing today. I felt he was a little, no, there wasn't much going on with him today. But I don't know whether that's because of Argentina shutting down him and Finn Russell. But but they didn't shut down him and Finn Russell in the first half. And they played in Scotland looked aggressive in the contact area.
Mm,
They were producing quick air ball, not maybe as quick as I would like it, but they were producing fairly quick ball. And Finn was putting some amazing passes in, some really nice passes. That no that or that it wasn't so much a no, yeah, it was a no look pass, but he was looking at
yeah,
Hutchinson when he put the ball into the old Australian Jack Dempsey's hands, and some really nice play from him. And then
yeah.
we got to 21, and then we got into we had a yellow card. We had a yellow card period where we kind of eventually got there and scored another
One of
try
the tries
to
came during the yellow. Yeah.
yeah, and then we kind of just lost our way, and it seemed like we took the foot off the gas. Now, to go back to your original question, you've got Sione who's there to rally the troops, but we have got vice captains, and we've got Finn Russell who's there who's guiding the team around the park, etc. I think the messages get mixed, or
Mm.
something's happening. But there's an awful lot of players at the moment, and we'll talk about this further down the line. But there's an awful lot of players there that I think are tired, and they're being mismanaged, and I think it's causing problems.
Well, you already mentioned two players that stood out in my notes. Finn, one of the things I liked that I saw, he threw a questionable pass that got intercepted pretty early on, and he immediately was like, okay, that shit's not working today. Let's get back to basics. And
Yeah,
then the defensive effort from him, I think he stole three turnovers in that first half alone, like he was ferocious. And yeah, you and I always end up talking about the aging Australian. I think he's aging backwards. It's like the curious case of Benjamin Dempsey. He was playing with fire.
yeah. He has been. He's been standout in the New Zealand game. He was standout this game as well. He is. It's almost. But my worry is that we go back to maybe 5 years ago, where we had the he who should not be named on the team, who would regularly say, you could see him go, screw it, I'm going to do it myself. And there's that seems to be creeping in a little bit again. And then you've got people like Hutchison, you've got people like Hutchinson, I should say. You've got people like Blair Kinghorn, who had a stinker today. Not going into when we're moving this ball around, seem to go into contact on a regular basis, maybe too much, and maybe not putting the pass in. Blair Kinghorn, in fact, I was messaging the guys from the Scottish Rugby podcast today during the game, and Blair Kinghorn has regularly been accused of not um, not passing the ball when he should, passing it too late or going into contact too much. And then today there was a try on the left hand side, and he chose to pass it to Kyle Stein far too early, and then it got nowhere because they managed to cover the try, or put a cover tackle in. So I think there's many facets to this game that people have stood out, or one of those people who stood out was the Australian TMO as well, and so there's many different things in there that have just contributed to an absolute collapse and an absolute embarrassment of a game for Scotland.
I mean, some of the calls I think went for Scotland too. Duhan, as soon as he came on, kind of took a guy out in the air. That could have easily been a penalty, and the touchy was right there, had no problem with it. So I don't know.
That was for
And
me. That was a fair collision. They were both going for the ball, but then, for example, we had one. I think there was one. I think it was the high shot from uh, our back rower. What's his name? It's just gone right out of my head. I'm having a senior moment here. But our seven, we had a high shot in, and they were going to give, the Australian TMO was saying, no, no, you need to have a look at this because this could be a yellow card and everything, and the
Oh,
referee
right.
is.
And said penalty only.
Yeah, and he went, no, no, no. This has just been a bit of a melee, and there's been a problem. There's been a lot of body shifting around, and that Andrew Brace was fine with that. I was quite happy with that. The
Mm.
problem I have is that this TMO then, with the second last try from Juan Pablo Matera, um, to me that was a no try, and you have to give us good evidence to say that that try was scored. For me, and especially the shots that were shown on TV, that was not a try. And it was the Australian TMO who said, "No, no, this is what where we are." Andrew Brace said, "No, it's I can't see a clear grounding," and then he loses the ball, and the TMO comes and said, "No, no, this is a try,"
It
and
was
and
an
it,
override.
it was an override. And I just feel I think it was a poor TMO decision.
By the
Yeah.
way, when I listen to your show every week, I basically have to worry if I'm driving because you're always going to say something that's going to make me crash if I don't pull over. And last week we were talking about Pablo Matera, and you said, "Oh, he ticks all the boxes: racist, homophobic." I'm like,
Yeah, well, he has been prone to do that. But it was, yeah, I think he was racist. He ticks all the boxes: racist, homophobic. He's a phenomenal back row, and he's got a great left foot.
yeah.
And
It's the old
it's just,
NFL thing. It's say what you will about so and so, but it's like, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
I will say what I will.
yeah.
But you're right. People looked tired out there. There's what happened to the idea of the BAM squad? Like it doesn't seem like there's a rotational thing where we get these fresh bodies in. It seems more like, okay, are you still okay to last out there? Okay. It doesn't seem like it's scheduled the way other teams are organized.
Yeah, and I think for me, you've got Pierre Schumann playing 80 minutes. Now he is capable of playing 80 minutes, but he played him 80 minutes. We take off Rory Hutchison. Now, okay, Rory Hutchison took a bit of a shoulder knock in one of the tackles he put in, um, but they left him on and played him, continued to play him, and he seemed to be fine. They then take him off, put Kyle Steyn into 13 and bring Duhan van der Merwe on. Now, at that point in time, you've got George Horn, Duhan van der Merwe, and Tom Jordan on the bench. Now, those three players can all change a game over like in a second. They can change a game. George Horn. Now, he's not had a great
Horn
Scotland
especially. If you
career,
need energy, he's your guy.
absolutely, and that's what we needed. We needed someone to take a hold of this, take this game as a scuff of neck. So what I would have done was bring Horn on, and if you really wanted to take if you're wanting to bring Duhan van der Merwe onto the wing, I would have taken either Darcy Graham or Stain off and kept Jamie Dobie on the wing.
Mm.
And then you bring Tom, you could bring Tom Jordan, or you bring Tom Jordan into 12 and push Sione out to 13. If you wanted to take Hutchison off, I just feel that again, and we've talked about this before, the bench again was mismanaged. And George Horn, I don't know what George Horn has done to Gregor Townsend, but this is the second time I've seen him not come on for a game. And he is a game changer. Why is he not brought on at 60 or 65 minutes when things are going downhill? Put your bench on,
Yeah,
turn
he's an
things
absolute
around.
weapon at the 60-minute mark. I feel like other teams go, "Oh crap," as soon as they see him come out, like, and with good reason.
Yeah, and so for me, excuse my expression, and I apologise to anyone who's got a nervous disposition when it comes to language, but Townsend shit the bed today.
Yeah,
He absolutely made the wrong decisions at the wrong time. And don't get me wrong, there's players on the field who have done that too. We have given away some incredibly poor penalties. Um, Elliot Miller Mills,
especially late when they're tired.
yeah,
Like, of course that
Miller
happens.
Mills went in to try and jackal that ball when the ruck was formed. Everyone saw that. I saw it. You would see it. Everybody saw it. And he hang on a minute, you're a professional rugby player who is now an international rugby player. Keep your hands off. The referee shouted at you twice. and you kept going. It's a
That's the
ridiculous.
infuriating bit. That's when the ref just starts to look at you like, "Are you not even listening? What's going on?" By the way, I
But
watched the first half with my son today, which was great. He doesn't know the result yet, but it was. I'm so proud of him on two fronts. First of all, he said at the beginning, if Finn looks too serious before the game, uh-oh, it might not go well,
he's a
which is
clever
something
boy.
I offhandedly told him like 2 or 3 years ago. And he's now fully on board with going shoo every time Schumann gets the ball, which is great. And he took it a step further. He said he started doing the shoo, and then he started doing it more like a Wookiee noise, and it suddenly
Nice.
hit me. Chewbacca. Why hasn't this been a thing
Chewbacca.
yet?
Why has that not happened? Exactly, because he's got long hair and everything. That's quite amazing. I'm going to have to adopt that. Coming to the Scottish Rugby pods very, very soon. No, not that, but yeah, and the thing is, it's well, actually, I thought the Scottish crowd were really happy about Pierre Schumann right at the end of the game because I thought, oh, listen, they're shouting for Schumann at the end of the. Oh
Yeah,
no, they're
he didn't even
oh
have the
no,
ball. They just like him so much.
oh no, no, they're booing the Scotland team. Yeah, well.
Second Simpsons reference when Mr. Burns is like, "Are they booing me?" And he says, "No, no, no. They're just saying boo earns,
Yeah.
boo earns."
And the thing is, I've never heard Scotland fans boo their own team
That
at
was
Murrayfield, you know.
it. Was this series, and obviously it's not over yet, but is this the trial of Jamie Doby? Do we like what we're seeing? Is he going to be a nailed-on starter? Is he nine at Six Nations?
He needs to make a few more correct decisions. I felt he made a few poor decisions, especially
He
when the
seemed
pressure was on.
underwhelming to me. I would have
Yeah,
described him as
he's got a beautiful
fine.
pass. Mr. Anderson, John Anderson, our friend, loves his pass, and I do agree with him. He is one of the best passes there. But there was a couple of high passes, passes that Finn had to reach for. Kyle Stein, I think, got him out of trouble at one point because he passed above his head and he managed to catch it and sort it out. But a team like us, a team like Argentina. And even I have to say a little bit of New Zealand last week needs quick ruck speed, and Jamie Doby I think is almost one of the slower ones out of the three. So if you've got George on, you've got Ben White, and you've got Jamie Doby. I think Jamie Doby is what is the slower of the three of them. He's not as confident maybe at the moment, but again, we are falling into this trap of Gregor Townsend using players who can do two or three positional jobs within the team to create, and what do they say? What's the usual proverb? Um, uh, what's it? Able to do three things and master of none, or whatever the proverb.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I was all set to make a really, really
Jack of all trades and a master of
jack of
none.
all trades, master of none. See, so this is the difference between me and you, David. You've got these things straight away, click it, and I'm about to make a really, really good point, and then I throw it away by forgetting the what I was to say. So yeah, I think that's the big problem. I think we've got you've also got things like Blair King on. He had an okay game against us against the New Zealand players.
I've got a little bit for him coming up.
Have you?
As you
Okay, I'll
say,
leave it.
there's no way around it. It was another massive letdown. They said it was the biggest comeback in Puma's history after being down 21-0. It was their first win at Murrayfield since 2009.
Yeah.
Um, Afterwards, they were talking to Sione, and they're like, "Oh, what happened?" And he goes, "Wow, I think we were up 14-0 at one point." It's like I wanted her to be like, "No, Sione, it was much worse than that." But
Yeah, yeah,
like,
it really was. It
um,
really
th
was.
this, of course, leads us smoothly into thing two, which is named for episode 20, mandatory minimums, which is, of course, the state of Scotland rugby. Craig, Johnny was saying a few weeks ago how he's tired of hearing, is this the best chance to beat New Zealand? We were all hearing that, though, because it was, right? Like, Craig, this team of Scotland, when will we see its like again? Is it not well past time to send Toonsey homeward to drink a Red Bull?
Yeah. The I there's two ways to look at it. There's one at the moment where we have to sit back and accept that we have two professional teams. All of our really, really good players go and play well, they don't actually. We've got lots of really good players that play at home, but most of our incredible players go and play in different countries. We rely a little bit on finding Scottish qualified players elsewhere rather than within the two team setup that we have in Scotland.
Everybody has the
Um,
same rules. Everybody has the same rules. I'm
Everyone has it,
always
yeah.
always fine with that.
But for me, I think there's a train of thought is we have to just accept who we are and what level we're at. And at the moment, we can produce a world class 15. But when you then look to the bench, we can't produce a world class 23.
Well, you have to put in your bench to use them.
Well, there is that as well, David. That's a very, very good point. So there's that train of thought, and then there's another train of thought of we have world class players currently in the Scotland team, and we are developing world class players as we speak. And Townsend is mismanaging them, and we have had the ability for the last 10 years of winning something, and we have not done so. And we blame the referees, we blame the individual players, we blame Townsend, we blame TMOs. Funnily enough, I've done that tonight. We blame the SRU. So what do we do now? And Townsend is obviously well thought of. He's taken up a small contract with Red Bull to be their rugby advisor, and it's well thought that Townsend, when he finishes up
Do,
after the World
do
Cup,
Red Bull gives small contracts? I'm not sure.
well, there is that as well. That he's going to go into Newcastle Red Bulls in the UK, the English Premiership, and he's going to work with a team all the time, and that's what he's going to do.
If you look at the
Um,
other five nations in the Six Nations, is there any coach that you wouldn't prefer over Townsend?
um,
Would you take Borthwick? Would you take Tandy? Is he in charge now?
Tandy for me, Tandy's unproven. I would like to. Tandy is a very good. He's worked well for Scotland as an assistant coach. I don't know the problem is currently we can't judge Tandy because he's got an absolute shit show of a Wales team to deal with, and what he's done is he's stuck with a lot of the current players that he's got and hasn't brought anything majorly new in. He reached out for Reece Carey and brought him along, who can only really do 20-25 minutes, and then he has to come off the field. So he's not made massive amount of changes. So I don't know. The proof will be in the pudding for Tandy. Borthwick, after a shaky start, is looking like he's going to put together quite a killer team. I think that's more to do with the players that he has rather than his
Mm.
coaching. I think he's got a great coaching staff around him. One person we've missed out on and that we should have taken because we had a spot for him is Byron McGuigan in the
Mm.
defence, because Byron McGuigan has moved from Sale to England. Or he's still working with Sale, but he's doing a part-time job with England and is now going to be the new defence coach for England. Byron McGuigan, ex-Scotland player, and is a fantastic, from what I can see, a fantastic defensive coach. We had to take Lee Radford, who is when Steve Tandy left, who is now who's doing a half and half job with Northampton Saints, etc. Now, Northampton Saints, if you've ever watched Northampton Saints play, defence was optional with them for a long time. So I don't know how good Lee Radford's going to be. So but I have to say that
Well, they just pared it back like their logo. It was just a rebranding.
that's what it is. Yeah. They changed it and that's all sort. So we've got,
Look how sleek we are without defense.
yeah, listen, what do you need defense for when you can score so many tries as we score? Um, so you've got that. Steve Borthwick, I think, is a fantastic coach. I think he'll do a great job. I think England could
That team is always fired up to a ridiculous degree, but I think he might just have a full squad of lunatics.
Yeah, yeah, because if you think about, he is an incredibly boring coach, as in he will kick the ball a lot and or he'll get his team to kick the ball a lot. He's decided that George Ford is the 10 to play for him now. Whether that's a master stroke or whether that's just I'm going to
Mhm.
just get him to kick the ball as much as we can. We're going to use it to play a territory game, but it seems to have worked for him. we'll wait and see how they survive against the South Africans. If he can come through the South Africans and beat the South Africans, then that might be a different game. He might be saying that this is the guy. Andy Farrell, I think Andy Farrell is great. I think he's a great coach. He comes across as a great coach, but again, he's had some worldly players that are now starting to get too old, and you can see the results are starting to, or at least the performance on field is starting to diminish.
Yeah.
So again, your question is incredibly valid. If not Townsend, who?
Mm.
And this is my big problem. A lot of me is saying now we need to rebuild, and we need to sit back and go, right, okay, there's certain players, and I've talked about this with Edinburgh with you before. There's a lot of high level players paid a lot of money. They need to they need to go and enjoy their retirement, as in go and get some play for a couple of French teams or an English team, or get some big bucks. Go and play some rugby somewhere else. Come back and play for Scotland if they can. But if they don't, let's bring some young people through to play. Let's get Tom Jordan or Adam Hastings or um, uh, Thompson from Edinburgh in to play at 10. Let's give Finn a bit of a break and go and let him play for Bath and go and win the European Cup and stuff like that. And let's try and rebuild and bring in a new coach and say, right, Pete Horn, it's time for you to step up and you take on that, or something needs to change. And or we sit back and we rest on our laurels and say, right, we're going to win some fantastic games, but they're probably going to be against teams that are either starting to fail or are a second tier World Rugby team, and we're going to be happy with that because the big dogs, we cannot at this moment in time produce a team that will boss a team around the park for 40 to 50 minutes and then bring on a a group of players off the bench that will keep the same level
Mm.
of intensity. And we can't do it. We can't produce that many good players for some reason. Or Townsend is draining the life out of them. We call him the energy vampire.
Yeah,
If you've ever
absolutely.
if you've ever seen What We Do in the Shadows, he
It's
is Colin
perfect.
the energy vampire. He any time in a right man, and you can just see him draining
And yeah,
the
you can see the assistants in the booth too, kind of.
yeah. Oh, he's draining. Yeah, he
Well,
is.
I'm also not somebody who given to exaggeration or hyperbole, as you well know. Obviously, I'm known for my well measured and calm metaphors, of course. But I was watching Townsend after a game after the New Zealand match, and I was thinking it's kind of like talking to the arsonist and be like, "Wow, that house sure burned down, huh?" And yeah, it sure did.
Yeah, yeah. The thing is, though, that's the first time I've seen him so animated.
Mm,
You know, he was animated in the box today. That's fine. That's fair. Um, but when we lost against New Zealand, he was really upset and he was angry and he was disappointed and he was now that I like. I want more of that from him.
right.
You
Less
know?
PowerPoint, more emotion.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. That's what Steve Tandy brought. You know?
So I'm curious, in hindsight, that New Zealand game, are you able to feel glass half full? Like, do you feel like, okay, it got away, but we showed we can hang with the Kiwis? Like, it was really near. They were ahead. Like, are you able to take that as a positive, or is it still too sort of raw?
No, well, stupidly, and it's probably my fault. Stupidly on the podcast last week, I said, "Look, we've got an opportunity to win the Six Nations here. If they play like they played against New Zealand, there's an opportunity to win the Six Nations. Our forward power was incredible. They really stepped up. And our backs, okay, fair enough. We do play a side to side game, but we need to have these strong runners bursting through and some good running lines, which, for example, you and Ashwin gave today. But funnily enough, the strongest running lines we got today were from the forwards, not the backs. But um,
100%.
yeah, and so we're in this situation where we,
Maybe
the
they
New
can do
Zealand.
something administratively where instead of Six Nations, it can become the 60-minute nations.
Oh, that no, that would be fabulous. That'd be fabulous. We'd only be crap for 10 minutes off the 60 minutes. But so yeah, it's a real difficult one. But I was really taken with a mixture of many different things. The atmosphere at Murrayfield is. I've been to a couple of the All Blacks games, the last two that we had when Doddy came out, and both of them, it was fabulous, and we were really up for those games, and the atmosphere at Murrayfield is phenomenal when you're watching that. It's almost like an England one, but it's a lot more friendly rather than the England one's a
Yeah.
fairly angry one.
It's
Atmosphere.
funny. So I even made a note of this because at the beginning of the broadcast, they described the atmosphere as funereal. And I was like, what? And then Darcy Graham comes running out and the place erupted. It didn't seem down at all. It seemed like a great crowd.
Yeah, yeah, and as I say, it was a sellout, and we're working. As I'm a bit lost, David. I honestly, you look at the All Blacks' performance and you think we really took it to them. The problem we have is we didn't have enough. They brought on someone off the bench who's more than a worldie. He is one of those rarefied air players. There must be 10 of them in the world that can just change a game with a click of his fingers. And Damien McKenzie is just
I love Damien McKenzie. I've been tooting his horn for years
oh
now.
yeah. So
And
have I. I've been watching him. He's just phenomenal.
the funniest thing about DMAC, a long time ago, I noticed because he's got that, his signature little smile as he's about to make the
Yeah,
kick. And I was thinking, this is cool for now. 7 or 8 years from now, is he going to be like, fuck, I have to smile again? And
yeah,
sure enough, in this match, he's like Frankenstein. There's blood pouring down. He's like, gotta smile.
yeah. Do it again. Do it again. No, and
Smile, monkey.
yeah, so you bring on this worldie who comes, and that's what he does, and he comes on, scores a try, and then bangs over a 50 meter, a 50 meter try, penalty kick, and just to rub
That try
salt
was
into
the
the
try
wounds.
of the autumn as well, too. Like,
Yeah.
I've never seen anyone kind of like the way he grabbed BK by the scruff of the neck and just kind of threw him and then used them. Like, it was ridiculous.
Yeah, and then again, well, we can maybe talk about the that sort of defense at some point when we talk about Blake Kinghorn. But he
He's
came on and
next.
did that. We have an issue in that we also have to think that that is not the strongest New Zealand team. And so they again, so are they gifting us a little bit of a, oh, there you go, see, you can win against us, you can win. No, you can't. It just seems to be almost like a dad, a competitive dad who's letting his kid win for a little while and then thinks, no, screw it, let's slap this child around, and so no, I'm not saying that you should slap any children, by the way, just before anyone says it. Um, but um, but yeah, it just seems that they're not the most cohesive All Black team. However, they do have some worldies on their team, and unfortunately, we were picked apart by one particular All Black, and it's just a disaster.
Well, much like the New Zealand backs, we've kind of been dancing around Kinghorn for a little bit now. He was in for a lot of criticism after last week, and I have a feeling there might be some more on the way this week. What's going on with Kinghorn right now?
Well, considering he's been playing non-stop since 2022, no, I think ever since he signed his contract with Toulouse, and again, I'll do what I always have been doing, David, and you'll know this. I always giggle at myself that Blair Kinghorn was signed for millions of pounds from Toulouse, and he plays at Toulouse. It's like he plays in the world's best team.
Yeah,
But
and started in that European Cup final ahead of Ange Capuazzo and other guys. Like he had them on
yeah,
the bench through merit.
he is a regular starter for Toulouse, and he performs incredibly well for Toulouse. My issue is that this year, he's been playing Six Nations rugby, then on to he played his top 14. And if anyone who's listening doesn't know about the top 14, they seem to play for about 11 months of the year for some reason.
I think they
Um,
played 2 rounds since we started talking.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it's an incredibly strong league. You've then got, so for example, when they put the Scotland team together, they come into camp. He's still playing in France, and then he'll fly in, train with them, fly back, play on a Saturday,
Wow.
then fly back into the team. He'll then train again during the week. Then he'll have an international game. If they've got a fallow week, so for example, in the Six Nations, they play two games, then they have a week off, a weekend off, and then they play the next weekend. In that fallow week, he flies back to France and plays in the
Oh
middle
yeah.
there.
They're
Okay,
playing.
so let's just say he's been doing that. He's had the Six Nations. Then he continued because obviously Toulouse were going to win the top 14. They were also in the European Cup to the final again. And then, oh no, not to the final, the semi-final, I think. Then he gets picked for the Lions. Then he flies out to Australia. He couldn't join the Lions right away because he was still playing for Toulouse. He then flies out to Australia. He's straight into a Lions training system. Then he's into the games. He's playing down there. He flies home. He starts pre-season for Toulouse again. They start playing again. And then he's got the Autumn Six Nations. So that
So
has tired.
is it as simple as fatigue then? And so
It
is that
has
yes
to be.
just another strike against Townsend for saying this guy could have used a rest this week?
Yeah, absolutely. That's for me. Townsend, but the funny thing about it is, if Townsend doesn't, well, no, actually, I think they are having a break now. But if Townsend hadn't picked him, he'd be still in France. But I just think, excuse me, um, he could have been rested. We have got good players at fullback. He could have put Blair Kinghorn on the bench. He can cover the wing and he can cover 15. He's then got Tom Jordan, who could have started at 15.
Yeah.
And Tom Jordan could have moved into cover for Finn Russell, could have gone at the centres if need be, and Blair Kinghorn could come off the bench and on to at 15. You could rest the guy. We also have an issue, pardon me again, where um, we have for some reason a defensive strategy of hold the player up first, and if not, put them to ground. So if you watch Scotland play, especially the backs, when a player comes into them, they'll try and hold them up for first. Blair
Interesting.
Kinghorn does that regularly if you watch him play. Now, the problem you have, for example, that Damien McKenzie try, he was trying to grasp him around the shoulders, around the arms, etc. He puts a chop tackle and he stops him. This is to smother the ball. This is to stop the ball being passed on or offloaded,
It's a
etc.
great point.
But he is you can you need these, for example, Hutchinson. I don't know if you Hutchinson, if you ever watch, I'm trying to think, I think it was the Gloucester Northampton Saints game about a month ago. They're hearing down the wing. I've forgotten who the player was for Gloucester, and Hutchinson put in a tackle, a try-saving tackle, and put the player into touch, and it was a full-on shoulder to the side to the kidneys of the
Hmm.
player, and put him straight into touch at full pace. Now that's what Damien McKenzie needed at that point in time. He did not need to be held up or bundled into touch by arms. And when we coach tackling at junior level, when kids are learning to tackle, you're told do not try and tackle someone with your arms and up here trying to grab air, because that's when someone will put a flat hand into your face and hand you off, or push you out the way and use your momentum against you, a la Damien McKenzie and Blair Kinghorn. So
BK is not a huge guy, but he's bigger than Damien McKenzie. Like he
yeah,
could have.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's he's a big boy, 6'3" or something like that, and you know now he's capable of putting good tackles in. You just need to look at what he did. He put a lot of pressure in the same game today. There was an outside break from Argentina, and he chased the guy down and stopped him scoring. So he's capable. It's depending on, I don't know what from what I know, or from what I'm being advised. They are coaching him to hold players up rather than to put them on the ground. And those sort of things we need to try and, in my opinion, we need to get out of there. Plus, also the fact that he's tired. He's we had a laugh about it earlier. He puts passes in far too late at times. He always tends to take on the contact before passing to the wing. This time he
He came
decided
out
to,
today like he was trying to make up for last weekend, and I just don't
yeah,
think it worked.
and I totally agree with you. He's almost trying to sell himself to Scotland. Whereas
Yeah.
it's like, just Blair, look, even Finn Russell has bad days. Finn Russell, he just let it go and move on.
Didn't it seem like Finn didn't even have the ball that much this game? And
No,
again, is this
no.
just a weird game plan? Like he was kind of he was watching everything, but he was just kind of letting things happen and saying, "Okay, you do it, you do it." So he was still marshaling the game, but I want the ball in his hands more. Every time he got it, it's okay. Here's a quick fizzy mispass, and that's kind of it. And it's almost like maybe that's why he was spending so much time getting into rucks, getting at the bottom of these piles where he's pulling the ball out and getting the ball back on defense. That's not what I want Finn doing.
No, and I think this is the whole thing though. This is where we are with his everyone is telling us that he's got a far more rounded game now. He's doing far better. He's his gameplay is more rounded, more professional. He's his defense is better. He's controlling the team. He's moving the team around the field really, really well. Now at Bath, he can do that. He's got he's got some world class Springboks in his front, and he's rattling people in his forward pack. He's got Alfie Barber. He's got some phenomenal players out there. He's got Ollie Lawrence outside him, who is an absolute wrecking machine at 12. He's got some fantastic players around him. With Scotland, we are in a slightly different thing. He doesn't have those big difference players within Scotland.
Mm.
It's not. He's not playing for Bath. He's playing for Scotland. We are coming. They are not coming up against a beleaguered Newcastle Red Bulls, or he's not coming up against a Gloucester. He's coming up against an international team.
I want to see Finn connecting with Sione, not Dempsey. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. But this has been the shift. Have you noticed the last couple of games?
Yeah.
There's been more forward work, more forward work, and this is where we're blowing this. We've got this side to side game, but we don't seem to we can get ourselves into the 22, but we can't score. It's coming, but it was mainly down to poor defence that you and Ashman managed to get in two fantastic runs and
Mm.
and score some absolutely lovely tries. He took them well, and I'm not going to take anything away from you and Ashman, but it was we. If you come up against the Springboks and you try and do the similar thing, you're going to come out a different way, you know.
Who I want to wrap it up with, maybe a little positive. Who were some players who stood out for you today? If you're in this Scotland squad, who's going home tonight and thinking, well, I did pretty good?
Yeah, Pierre Schumann, but I'm not going to say anything wrong about Pierre Schumann anyway. I love
No,
him.
no,
I
no.
love
We all know.
him. Yeah. I
They
just
should they,
every
they should first of all, Chewbacca definitely should be a thing, but also that should be a plushie. Like I would be buying one right now. I'd be have another
absolutely.
window
Oh,
open right
imagine
now.
that in a wee Scotland shirt and just all hair
Yeah,
and talking in a South African accent about God. It's really, it's just it'd be fabulous.
I shouldn't be
Um,
giving these ideas away for free. Damn it.
yeah, no, you should keep them. But then you've got the other side of things of the Schumanator, and you could think to yourself, then it just goes
Mm.
to American Pie and that guy, what's his name, the Shermanator, and you think, oh, poor soul. Anyway,
He doesn't want to be in that conversation, I don't think, knowing what
he
I know
really
about him.
doesn't. I think Scott Cummins played well today. I think he was
Mm.
he was over the park. Jack Dempsey again. It hurts me to say it, but the old Australian is absolutely a wrecking machine, and he's got pace as it showed. Um, I
Did you want Duhan back starting? Like Townsend
No.
was pretty vocal last weekend, but he said I dropped him because he's not good enough. But,
Yeah, Kyle Steyn is Kyle Steyn. The big problem you have though is that Duhan does incredibly well when he's up against a team who is struggling.
mm,
Especially for example England. England have gone through a patch. They've gone through their Steve Borthwick coming of age situation where they were all they decided they were going to have this blitz defense. That Scotland then just threw the ball out to the wings and got round them that way. Then they would panic. They'd start throwing themselves everywhere, and then Duhan would run through the middle of them.
mm.
When Duhan comes up against a good defence, he is nullified. And then when they start kicking the ball at him, his back going backwards defence is very, very poor. Kyle
Well,
Steyn has sorry.
after the USA match that didn't happen, some of my Welsh friends were describing Scotland as flat track bullies. Do you think there's any fairness to that?
I
What you're
think
describing from Duhan, it kind of sounds like it.
Yeah, I think there are certain players within the Scotland setup that will play incredibly well against poor teams. Um, it's
You're
when they
welcome.
come up at yeah, yeah. Well, thank you. Once you start looking at play, start looking at teams that are at a high level, and I'm going to say this even though I don't want to say it, but Ireland and people like that who have a forward pack who are on the edge of cheating, on the edge of legal, but they are on the edge of legal and they're getting away with it. So, and we don't know what to do with that. We're almost too kind to them, you know?
So I have noticed that all successful rugby teams have that, where they're like, we're going to play right on the edge, and we're going to almost put the onus on the referee to call everything. The NFL equivalent was back when the Seattle Seahawks, they were called the Legion of Boom, and their idea was like, we're going to basically commit penalties every single play, and the ref's going to get tired of calling everything, and they're just not going to because it slows down the game too much. Like Ireland kind of do that. South Africa are the kings of that, and Scotland don't try stuff like that. I don't see innovation, and I don't see the edge. They're never on the edge.
Yeah, can I put it a little bit less uncultured?
Yes.
In a less uncultured way, we need a couple of
Yes.
bastards.
Yeah. Where
We
are
need a
they?
couple of ugly bastards that are out there to. Jamie Ritchie was a little bit that way, you know, but unfortunately they made him captain, and unfortunately he had a negative effect to the referees, and the referees then just started looking for penalties and started, you know, because nobody. You know, you just need to look at the start of our podcast. If you're ever watching the actual feed, we've got a beautiful picture of Jamie Ritchie's nose being rearranged by Mohamed Hawass
Oh yes, I was watching that
from the
game.
French game. I was in the
That's
stands
still
that
to
game,
this.
and it
Were you really?
yeah,
I
and we
didn't know
could
that.
and seriously, man, you could see it from where I was sitting. You could see the punch from where I was sitting. You know.
The shading on his nose changed as the light hit it.
Oh yeah, it was so it's one. You know, so there's them. I think we had a few players that way in our older days, but we're
I don't think Scotland were going to win that game if it wasn't for that punch. By the way, that was a
yeah
very lucky punch.
yeah we but again it's this thing of it's the same with Argentina. France and Argentina were very similar for a long time because you would sit
Mm,
there and go, we don't know which Argentina or France is going to turn up. If France turn up, they'll either absolutely fall to pieces or they'll be wonderful. And Argentina used to be like that. Now Argentina are so resilient. They've got some big, ugly boys that will do
yeah.
some serious damage, but they've got some phenomenal hands on them. And when it clicks, they click.
Well, they
Um,
did great in the boringly named Rugby Championship this year, which isn't going to happen next year, which kind of sucks. But and
no,
I've been pounding the boards for a couple of years now. Argentina are good game, bad game, good game, bad game. It's
yeah,
almost clockwork. And so I thought, oh, they're due for a bad game. It looked like it when it was 21-0, and then I realized, mm, playing really well against Wales last week, that might not have counted as the good game. So I think they
yeah,
kind of.
yeah. Well. If you ever, I don't know if you know, well, let's just say Japan turned up and played incredibly poorly against Wales this weekend, and they almost won.
They were very
Wales,
close.
like
Exciting ending. I liked it.
yeah, I've never
I
seen.
I used to love Japan until they took Eddie Jones, and now I'm like, go down in flames every game, please.
Yeah, the problem is I really like the Japanese players and I really like the
I
Japanese
do
culture.
too. I
I
like the
just
style. I like well, I've lost, but they have
if
to
they
get rid
have
of him before I can root for them again.
yeah, but you then watch the Keystone Cups of rugby, which is currently Wales, and it was like every time I just wanted just loudspeakers around around the stadium go wah 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 every time someone just you know like oh.
It's begging for the highlights to be set to the Benny Hill song.
Yeah, absolutely. So, you know, it's so you so I take your point and I think you're probably right. Argentina, because it was a close game with Wales for a wee while. And so you're probably going to sit there and go, yeah, they had the poor game against Wales. And then they came back and they oh, you're going to beat us. Oh, you're so good. Oh, so you're so good. Slap. And they sorted us out. I've never seen a collapse like that for a long time by Scotland, and it's almost
Yeah,
embarrassing, you know.
it had been a week. No.
Yeah. Hey, listen, we came back.
Sorry.
We came back.
And this is coming from the person who took 85 and didn't score a point. So,
Yeah, well, you
I mean,
know, I
not me
mean,
personally. Although if I was in that game, maybe we would have had a chance. Um, that does bring us to our third and final thing, named for episode 5, These crackpots and these women. Craig, the SRU announced new contracts this past week, handing out 21 one-year deals. They clearly wanted to, toot their own horn about it. I don't think it necessarily played the way they thought it would. Big shock for the perpetually tone-deaf SRU. If you would talk about these contracts, you kind of held yourself in check on your own show, but I could tell you were seething.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know where the SRU are coming from on this one. I let's just say Scottish rugby, Scottish women's rugby has, whenever we brought the contracts in, we all gave the SRU the benefit of the doubt. They announced 31 contracts the first time, and they were, I think, they were something like 18 or 19,000 pounds a year. We thought, well, it's not enough, but it's enough just now to make sure that these players are now concentrating on rugby and they're not trying to earn enough money working for, a lot of them are doctors, veterinarians. They're having to do a second job to keep, imagine going to work for a day, well, getting up at 4 or 5 in the morning, going to the gym for an hour, then going to work for a day, then going straight from work to Scotland camp to then train, um, uh, and then play at the weekend for your own rugby team, then come and do that every day of every week. Um, and Scottish
So our
men.
mutual friend Rachel Law, one night we had a scheduled chat for the pod, and she was like, "By the way, I might have to cancel because it's lambing season."
Yeah, yeah. And so you've got all this going on. Scottish men do none of that. They are coddled and cosseted and rubbed down and made sure they're doing, can we, even to the point of, for example, I know of a Scottish player a Scottish men's player who said to someone I know very well, you need any boots to play? Yeah, I could do with a pair of boots. You about the same size as me? Yep. Come here. Took this player up to his car, opened the boot, and gave him a brand new pair of rugby boots that were £200 worth. Oh, I've got loads of these. They have boot contracts. They have secondary contracts for this and that and the other. We've got Scotland women's players for the last few years who have been crowdfunding for boots and for
Yep.
kit and for sponsorship, etc., to make ends meet. So that's been going on.
And,
They
and
got
this
a
is
con.
near and dear to your heart because you've coached women's rugby. That this means a lot to you, and the fundamental divide that I'm sure you're keenly aware of. Men are rewarded based on potential. Women are rewarded based on results.
Yes, and they received their contracts, and immediately within a year, their play was better, their handling was better, they were slicker, they were okay. Fair enough. We had a new coach coming too, which we can, Brian Eason came in and started to do a better job with them, but they were fundamentally, immediately, they were better. We've had a good run. We had some fantastic games at the last World Cup. Now, the last World Cup earlier this year, it was announced that they don't know if they're going to get contracts
Right.
next year after this World Cup. How do you do that before, right, like a week before the World Cup? You know,
Timing was shocking.
absolutely terrible. And then you've got Jade Conkle after the World Cup calling out the SRU, retiring from international rugby. Now, Jade Conkle was the first ever contracted player for Scottish rugby. She's a phenomenal athlete, fantastic player, and is a firewoman in London as her job because she's not getting paid enough to be a rugby player, right? She was Scotland captain. So they've got all these players. So this is in the
And
background.
what did
Look,
she
this is,
say? It was what a 6 minute conversation, something like that.
yeah,
Some just
yeah.
ridiculous, like here's your slip,
6 minute
basically.
contract. Thanks very much for all of the work you've done for Scottish rugby, not just Scottish women's rugby, but for Scottish rugby. But we're not going to continue your contract in a 6 minute conversation. An absolute um, ridiculous state of a real slap in the face. So they've slowly been filling the hive with fans. We're building the fans, building the fans, building the fans to the point of now it looks like we're going to get between 40 and 50,000 fans at the Scotland women v England women Six Nations game. It's selling really well. They're in the big house, they're in Murrayfield. It's going to be fabulous. They then, after the World Cup, say, right, we've now got a 4 year cycle. It's going to be 4 years to the next World Cup. What we're going to do is we're going to give out 21 1 year contracts to support players and 9 developmental contracts, which means which means you can come and use the gym at the SRU. That's what it means. It's not, oh, if you need some help with this, we can have a word and write a letter to your boss to see if you can get more time off. That's the support they're getting. That's, and a little bit of money, but they'll get money to, whether well, basically it's fucking expenses. You need some fuel you need to put some fuel in your car to get it to training. That sort of stuff. That's not good enough. We need to say to players, especially the younger players that have come in, the Fran McGee's, the
Mm.
all these players that have broken through at this World Cup and have really shown their potential at this World Cup. We need to say, there, there's your contract. There's £36,000 or £40,000 per year for the next 4 years. We want you to develop. Go and play your rugby in England and get what you get because they're only getting something ridiculous like 12 grand a
Right.
year playing for Bristol Bears or whoever. But the SRU have gone, oh, that's up to the clubs to pay you. And we're not going to pay you a contract for that. We're going to give you, a small amount. They don't, that was a big thing with a lot of the players that because the clubs down south are getting all the work out of you, so we're going to let them pay you, not us. It's as you can probably tell, I've talked a lot, and I really apologise for just talking, but I'm incredibly angry about it. I feel
No,
that
I'm with you. That's why I wanted to bring it up. I think the word you were looking for earlier was travesty. That's the one I would have
yeah,
picked.
the SRU need to hang their heads with shame. You look at that, they've had two, well, there you go. There's a sellout just happened this weekend, right? A sellout of Murrayfield. And um, for a game where Scotland shat the bed. Okay? Scotland men shat the bed. If they took the gate money for one game, they could fund 40 or 50 players at a good level for 4 years. You then look at South Africa at the same time, who when Scotland released said that we're going to sponsor, we've given out 21 full-time contracts for a year. South Africa have just given out 150 contracts for women in South Africa to take them through to the World Cup
I didn't know
because
that. Wow.
they are coming to the World Cup in 4 years' time to put a performance in.
Yeah.
There's a statement, you know, it's shameful.
I'm sure if I was wearing a tweed suit and an ascot, I'd be saying, it's not like the SRU is hemorrhaging money right now. They don't have money to hand out willy-nilly.
Well, yeah, they've got plenty of money to pay their non-executive board directors. They've got plenty of money to pay performance directors. They've just brought in well, first things first, they brought in a CEO of women's rugby. Now, I'm not particularly excited about that because it should just be a CEO of rugby and they look after the whole of rugby. There shouldn't be a definition between the two, but it seems like progress. But the less I say about CEO of rugby, the better, and I'll stay out of that just now. But it's we are they are too busy putting people in place and paying them money to reinvent the wheel, and they're not putting enough into the game itself.
Hmm.
And the money is being misspent on new boxes and new ways of wasting money here, there, and everywhere when they should be putting it into the game. The women's game, we've talked about this many, many times, David. The women's
Yeah.
game is bringing thousands of new fans into the game.
Even a rudimentary business person right out of college should be like, wow, look at that growth rate. Maybe we should look at that.
Yeah, yeah. Everyone goes on about the Red Roses. Oh, the Red Roses. It's a waste of time going up against them because they're just so much better than everyone, and it's this and it's that and the other. The Red Roses are so good because the RFU took the time to put contracts in place and to develop the
Yeah.
women's team. They believed in the women's rugby game, and look at what they've done. They've built themselves a championship, which is the best in the world at this moment in time, and they've built themselves a team who are the best in the
Yeah, yeah,
world
yeah.
at this moment in time.
The I don't know if you ever had a chance to listen. I've got to talk to Alice Soper, one of the, a Kiwi pundit who I just love, and the way she put it was so brilliant. She talked about how women's rugby in England is a brick and mortar store that's been there for decades now. Women's rugby everywhere else in the world, every World Cup, it's a pop-up stand. They show up and say,
Yeah,
"Oh, look, here's a little
yeah.
marketing and stuff like that." It's not anyway.
Look at
We could go
look
down
at
a
Canada.
massive.
Look at Canada.
Yeah.
They had to crowdfund $1 million to get to the World Cup, and they ended up in the World Cup final.
Yeah.
It, why?
It was incredible.
Why?
I feel like morale for the women, even more so than the men, is low right now. The Six Nations is a long way away. What can we expect between now and then? Like, I haven't looked ahead to see fixtures. I'm not aware of any. Like, what's the women's team going to
Well,
do to get ready?
we've got WXV.
Is
Um,
it back officially? I haven't
it's
seen
back.
the.
Well, I haven't seen the official dates yet, but that is coming back, and we're in the top. The Scottish
Thank
women are
God.
in the top tier, so hopefully we'll get some more games. But at the moment, it's I have got nothing. I know
Mm.
nothing. I don't know what's going on. I think it's the Six Nations is the next one.
Well, I do want to do the same thing we just did, where we kind of sprinkle some positivity based on that recent World Cup. Who are some of the younger players? You've kind of probably already mentioned some. Who are some younger players in the Scotland squad who you're expecting big things from? And will the next Six Nations kind of be a changing of the guard?
I think there'll be a little bit of it. I'm sure. We've got some fantastic players coming through. We've got a worldie in Evie Gallagher. We've got a young prop coming through now. I think I've talked about Molly before, but we've got Molly Pullman coming through,
Yes.
who will who will become a stalwart for the Scotland team. She got her first chances. She went to her first World Cup this year. Um, we've got some phenomenal players who are coming through that really will lift the team. We need What I need to know now is who the new coach is. That's got
Yes.
a lot to do with it.
And will they get a contract?
Yeah. I don't know if I don't know. I don't care if it's a man or a woman. I just want to make sure they get the right person for the job.
Yeah.
However, it would be perfect if we have some phenomenal female coaches around that could do a good job. So it'd be interesting to see what they can do. I think it's
If you were offered that job, what would be your number one priority? Would you be thinking about attack? Are you thinking about defense? Are you thinking about just like helping people calm down from all the nonsense that's been happening? Would your Is the next coach's best trait the ability to stand up to the SRU?
um, The problem is it's this whole thing. It's the whole thing. I'm not going to mention a certain person by name, but if you're a president of a team of a country and you bully people or people stand up to you, then they find out that they've no longer got a job very, very quickly. And we have the same situation with the SRU. If you stand up against the SRU, you find yourself on a what they would say in Scotland, you find your coat on a shugly nail. And which means that for those that aren't Scottish or may not get the reference, your coat will fall off you'll fall off your hook very, very quickly. And I think that's
Why
the
don't we
big
have
issue.
aphorisms like that? We have nothing. We have hot dogs. That's pretty much it.
Yeah, there you go. Well, hey, listen, there's got a lot. Listen, I've got a lot of time for a Costco hot dog. Anyway, but for me, if I was put into a position now, what I'd need to do is just bring the team together and just keep marching forward. So built, for example, their defensive game really took a step forward at the World Cup.
Mm,
So I would like to see that building. Helen Nelson, for example, her kicking has developed
hell yeah.
significantly. So I want to see them moving forward. I would
One of the better
probably,
kicking teams, definitely.
yeah, yeah. And I just feel. I think it's celebrating them a bit more, making sure that they all know that they have a place, making
Yeah.
sure that, obviously I love competition and you don't want anyone to rest on the laurels, but you want them to understand that if they do their job correctly and they work hard, and they give what everything that they possibly can to to Scotland, into the jersey, into training, etc., that they're safe. And you say, look, we've got 4 years to build. Let's build together. Not, oh, well, we want 100% out of you for a year and then we might just cut you loose. I think it's an arm round a squad that needs. And just to
Mm.
tell them, look, you guys are okay. You're doing incredibly good jobs.
As a coach, do you believe that truism, cohesion is the most important thing to success?
Yeah. You look at you look at the teams that are having fun. You look at the teams that are you know. Now, when I say that, there's a level, you've got to make sure that you're doing the job first of all. But if you're having fun at the same time, that was the big thing I always used to say about England, with under Eddie Jones. England under Eddie Jones, you had no doubt they were highly professional and fantastic talents playing for that team, but they looked like they were miserable all the time.
Yeah.
And if you watch a team that's having fun and enjoying themselves and playing hard but fair, you and celebrating together, whether it's in loss or whether it's in win, you have a team that's stronger and will continue moving forward.
It's so true. And it's funny. It's a massive generalization, but I see that in general with the women's game more. So when it's absent in a team like Scotland, it seems more pronounced.
Yeah, let's look at, for example, let's talk about something closer to home. USA Sevens women.
Exactly.
They look like they're having a lot of fun. Now they're having a
Yes.
lot of fun, and they're building a world class team out of a country that rugby has never been the first, second, third, fourth, fifth, maybe seventh, eighth, maybe tenth sport. They're doing a good job. Now that's a mixture of good coaching, that's a mixture of investment, and it's a mixture of but they're all having fun and they want and it almost brings the fans with you. If you're having fun, you're open. For example, we all know we've all seen the interviews with players. Oh, we've done well. We're going to take learnings from this. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. That's the line. You interview 10 players from that team and they say all the same thing. You want those players to come out and go, hell yeah, I've had an absolute blast. I've made a few mistakes. I've done this, I've done that.
Yep.
You want that interest because it drags the you like Pierre Schumann. Let's take him because I love him anyway, and we'll talk. I'm not going to stop talking about him, but every interview you see with him, he leaves his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah.
He doesn't give you the everyday bullshit, or the professional bullshit. You know that he plays for Scotland because he loves Scotland. He has said this regularly. He wants to have children in Scotland. He wants to have
Yeah.
Scottish children. He loves the place. That brings fans with you. That's how many other players out there have a call whenever they get the ball.
Yeah.
No one else
He's
out there
special
does.
too. Even from where I sit, it reads so real. You feel like you're gonna run into Pierre at the meat market, and he's gonna be like, "What are you buying?" Like he's
Yeah.
gonna be asking about your choices and stuff.
Yeah, what are you cooking tonight? Oh, do you do this? I do this. Oh, that's great.
Oh,
He's a
I think
person.
you should get this steak.
Yeah, you we respond as fans to personalities. Finn
Yeah,
Russell's one of the most lauded players in Scotland and now across the world now, but he's lauded because everyone says, well, he doesn't give a shit. He can have a bad game and he just laughs it off. Well, that's just because there's many different reasons for that, and we could maybe talk about that another day. But it doesn't bring him down. He's on to the next job. What's next
yeah,
if we're going to keep the West Wing thing going? Um, but he's not. feared to
Are you
shush
saying
Gloucester.
he's prop Bartlett?
It- I just, he's one of those people that just he's not scared to shush the shed at Gloucester. He's not.
Yeah, yeah,
He's there. He's a character, and we respond to characters. Look at Alona Mar. She is a character. She has built herself she's invested in herself by by wearing her personality on her sleeve, on her TikTok,
yeah.
on her Instagram, and people tune in for that. People that she's been given more chances at different things, and I think that's what we respond to. I would love to see, some of these players that play for Scotland, some of these players that play for England come out and, tell you all about this and that and the other. Some of them you'll find out are incredibly vacuous, like Marcus Smith, who wants to tell you about his new G wagon. It's like, oh man, ugh.
Johnny McGinty's dismantling of his performance in that docu-series. That's
Yeah,
all that need be said.
exactly. And so,
So, of all the things we don't have rugby wise in the United States, what we do have, and the MLR is struggling, but what we still have is when on game day, the players walk through the stadium to go get to the locker rooms. They aren't ushered in. There's no bus. There's no security line stopping them. All the players pass through the crowd. You can say hi to any of them. And the players who aren't in the 23 are in the stands watching, and you can talk to them. The accessibility, it's funny because you and I have been fans of Schumann for so long, and like right when he was starting to be a thing, I reached out to him and was like, "Hey, is there any chance you'd like to come on this Random Americans podcast?" And he was like, "Yeah, that sounds great." And then he signed a contract with the SRU. Silence.
I
And
was
you
exactly
and
the same.
John told me that's the SRU. They're like, "No, no, 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 no.
Yeah.
We'll tell you who you can talk to. That's that." And we still have that accessibility here. So maybe when things get better, we won't have that. But right now, I'm loving it.
Well, the thing is though, and this is and funnily enough, I'm sorry to bring it up again because I know you don't like talking about it, but if the SRU are treated a little bit like brown nosed a little bit more like a certain president, um, they will give you what you want. So you're going to have to start. Oh, yeah, sorry, man, I made you feel sick.
Sorry, sorry.
But if you start talking about the SRU and nothing that the SRU does is wrong. And yeah, they're celebrating women's rugby by giving a year's contract to all those players. Look how lucky they are. And oh wow, look at Townsend. He's got another extension for another 3 years to drain the life out of Scottish rugby. Well done. He's great. Wow, the guys have done
Doesn't it feel
well.
like one of these like sketchy offers where there's six asterisks after the offer? It's like, warning, may not apply in your area.
Yeah.
Warning, actual amount given out may be upwards of $12,000.
Now, if you start talking about the SRU in wonderful colours, you will get those players to come and talk to you because they think you're a safe bet. You're going to ask basic questions. You're going to say, "Oh, what did you have for dinner, Mr. Schumann? What have you?" Then you're not going to turn and go, "Hang on a minute. What's going on with Townsend?" And look at Finn Russell. He called out Townsend. Remember that game that
Oh,
Scotland
I
were getting
remember.
beaten by England, and then they came back at half time.
And Finn said,
Uh,
"Shut up, I'm taking over."
yeah. What happens next? He gets dropped. He's then the third best or the fourth best
Right. And
fly
I think they
half for
lost
Scotland.
maybe three in a row while he was languishing away in
Yeah,
Stirling at his dad's house or whatever.
yeah. You know, that's the
Ugh.
situation you're in, and that's where we are. But I'm trying to be positive. I'm trying to be positive. It's been fantastic to
This
talk
was
to
a
you, and I
difficult
love being.
reaction time to uh Craig, man, you're the absolute best. Before I let you go, bonus episode for the test next week against Tonga. We'll go with episode 3, a proportional response. Do you expect
Nice.
much in terms of rotation? What are you looking for what are you looking for in this contest?
What is the nature of a proportional response, David?
It's an ambiguous episode. He talks about the Roman Empire, and it kind of sounds like the Romans were right, and yet he gets talked off. It's a
You know
complicated
what we
script.
you know what we need for Tonga in our proportional response? We are going to have not the same players on the field. Not let's see Tom Jordan coming in. Let's see Kyle Rowe coming in at 15. Let's
Is
see.
George Horn starting? Is a Sav going to be still?
I'm not sure. I think that ship has sailed. I think George Horn should be looking at
Oh, damn.
um, playing his rugby in France and getting a good payout because I think it's time.
That'd be nice.
I think his, to be treated, he
Imagine
is.
if he ends up at Newcastle and
Oh,
he's like, no, no, not the new coach.
I signed this massive
God damn it.
£500,000 4-year deal with Newcastle Red Bulls. Well, that's fantastic. By the way, here's Gregor Townsend, your new coach. No,
No.
my ass is going to be huge from sitting on the bench all the time. So, yeah, yeah. I would like to see I'd like to see them put out a team against Tonga with some new players, a splattering of some new players, because you know what's going to happen. They're going to name the same team. They're going to go out and they're going to whoop Tonga, and everything's going to be right again. And Tooney's going to save face, and everything's going to be fine. And it's not good enough. I want to see some change, and I want to see. And then at the end of this Quilter series, I'm going to see Townsend
Mm.
turn around and say, listen, I'm going to go off to Newcastle Red Bulls and I'm going to go and coach them. Thanks very much. I've really enjoyed Scotland.
At this point, it's far more likely that he leaves than he gets fired, right? Which is a
Yeah.
bizarre irony after all these years, right?
Well, he's got a contract for another until the World Cup, you
Yeah,
know.
like they can't fire him, right? Because of the extension.
Well, they can fire him if he's
But they
poor
would owe him a ton
performance,
of money.
but they're yeah, and the other side of things is, who do we get? And who do we
Yeah.
get from now till the
Fine.
Six
I see what you're getting
Nations?
at. I'll do it.
Yeah,
Fine.
yeah. Hey, listen, you're behind me, man. I'm going for it first.
Damn it.
But no, actually, I've got an agenda, so
No,
they
no,
don't
no. We
like
need
me.
you for the women's game.
The SRU don't like me, so I'm not going anywhere. I've got more chance of getting the Wales job, which might happen. No, I just think of Homer Simpson. Oh no, not the Dallas Cowboys. Uh,
I think owning the Dallas Cowboys is pretty good. You just don't understand football, March.
so yeah, we'll wait and see. I just don't
Ironically, the
know.
Denver Broncos won the
Oh,
Super Bowl immediately after the year after that episode. It was so
yeah, it was
funny.
the Denver Broncos. I got mixed up.
Yeah.
It's either the Denver Broncos or the Dallas
But
Cowboys. It's
but
like,
the way they animate the balls bouncing off people's
yeah.
helmets, I'm like, yeah, yeah, yeah. That's
It's the other one is
like
the Hans Moleman when he's got these children. It shows you all these children and they all bump into each other and then fall out the window. That was what Blair Murray looked like at the weekend playing against against
uh,
Japan.
uh,
Oh dear, yeah,
well, you kind of already told us earlier, but I do want to finish with it. And in fact, if you're not going to say this, I want you to lie. Um, can Scotland finish first or second in the men's Six Nations in February? They have the squad to do it. If Tonesy goes to Red Bull, Newcastle, and somebody else comes in, no matter who it is, there's like a new coach boost. Maybe morale
no.
improves.
No,
No,
we're going to go to Six Nations. We're going to have a couple of good games against weaker teams, and then we're going to get slapped around by the bigger teams. England are going to win it. I think England are on a path. They're looking incredibly strong. Even when
there's
their
lots of
bench
talk
looks.
about the aging Ireland squad, though. You can't sneak above them. You can't come second.
We're going to go and play Ireland. We're going to be beating them in the first half, and in the last 10 minutes, we're going to cough up the ball and lose it.
I can't
This
wait
is
to
what
see
we
George
do.
Horn sitting on the bench going, "Huh, weird."
No, not again. No, maybe I should have taken that job at the Red Bulls, Red Newcastle Red Bulls. The problem is we have a junior team that we look at for Scotland, and it's called Edinburgh, and they do the same thing. They have these phenomenal players playing for them on their roster, and they win a couple of games. They make us believe. They then say, "Okay, actually, the coach that we think is rubbish is actually doing a better job, and actually, maybe we should keep him." And then they totally ruin it when the pressure comes on.
Mm.
And if you watch an Edinburgh game and then you watch a Scotland game, you can see the same things happening. They do incredibly well. Then the pressure comes on. They give away stupid penalties. The team against them then fires the ball down into their 22 and score a try. It, it, it's 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 almost like it's a playbook, you know. And so I'm incredibly negative, David, but it's your fault for having this right after the game that Scotland have just.
So,
Oh,
cards on the table. I was trying to get John Anderson to sneakily come in the back door to this pod and kind of appear, but apparently he also watched the game and is in no place mentally or physically to comment.
well, if you think I've had some hot takes tonight, you would have had some nuclear takes tonight from John Anderson. Yeah, yeah, John Anderson. Well, we've been talking to him actually. I've been talking to him today, and he is ready to burn the whole place down. And to be honest with you, I'd be standing beside him.
Shocked I am.
I'll hold his can of fuel.
Exactly. Craig, I did have fun this weekend. Scotland have shown some really fun stuff. I love some of the players so much. That's why it makes it so much harder to see them not succeeding. It was always an uphill battle against the All Blacks, but this one hurt. This one sucked.
Yeah, yeah, it really did. I think the All Blacks game you could take because we've not beaten them in our history,
Yeah.
and and Damien
Very late,
McKenzie.
I sneakily was holding out for a draw. I was like, I'll take a draw. I'll take a
Yeah,
draw. Like,
yeah. And then you've got someone like Damien McKenzie. You know, I can take being beaten by someone like him because
yeah,
he's a world class player. He's the ultimate clutch player. He is someone you bring off the bench and he will change the game.
yeah.
This game, we had won it. By 50 minutes, we had won that game and we handed it to them. And don't get me wrong, Argentina did some fantastic things, and I think they just couldn't get their act together in the first half. And if some of the things had gone to hand for them or gone well in the first half, they would have probably have been at similar points to us. But we handed it back to them, and unfortunately, it's this is the one that's really stinging. And we'll go and beat Tonga next weekend, and everything will be bright and breezy in the Scottish rugby thing again.
I would never be cocky enough to say, "Oh, they're just going to go out and beat Tonga." Like that sounds like the exact setup for a whoops whoosh, banana peel.
Yeah, the problem with Tonga though is that yes, I totally understand what you say, and if it was Fiji, I would
Mm,
I would be with you on
it's
that
true.
one.
Tonga's a
Um,
mess.
Tonga's unfortunately what you do is you just let Tonga burn themselves out and then just slap them around in the last 20 minutes because they're all tired. And that's what you do with Tonga because they are not fit enough.
Wait, what's that? Is that Israel Folau's music? Oh no, here he comes off the high road. No.
Well, there's someone who's got it all too, but I'm not going to say.
Exactly. Him and Pablo Matera should start a side competition. Maybe a Rugby 360. Maybe they should be the new faces.
Yeah, they could be the inglorious bastards of the whole Rugby 360 team. I'm sure there's Stuart Hogg. Oh, you've joined us. Nice to see you.
To be fair, I'm already picturing the sort of gothic like logo for the Inglorious Bastards RFU. Like that sounds good. I would buy that jersey.
Wow, imagine the wage bill because they'd have Falau, they'd have Pablo Montero, they'd have Stuart Hogg. Who else could they get? Oh,
I
there's
know.
plenty. I'm not.
Well, it's basically Montpellier. Like
Well, okay, yeah, yeah.
I've talked
Sorry.
about. I always picture Montpellier's training camp looking like sort of Mad Max, like the background, like there's just just oil drums with flames and people with like fingerless gloves and mohawks.
You can just see them. Oh man, just arriving and all their cars are all like,
Yeah,
they drive in the car park, the bus comes in with flames shooting out the top of it and everything. It's like,
it's like Repo Man.
yeah.
Craig, my dear friend, this has done me so much good at a soul level. I really appreciate your time. This was a tough time to pick up after a match like this. I was trying to write the script as the match is going, and I was like, this is going to be so much fun. And then, woo, things changed.
Wah, wah, wah.
Yes. I can tell my son is home now, so I'm going to go upstairs and break the news to him. But Craig, man, I love you so much. It's so great to see you. I hope I put a little cheer in your day. Cheers. Talk to you soon, and be
Thanks,
well.
brother. Appreciate it. Thanks, man.